Hey guys, how are you? So I've saved different clips that the Holy Spirit has brought to my attention regarding the mouth. Anything that has to do with the teeth, anything that has to do with the mouth, anything that has to do with your breath, anything that has to do with the health regarding your mouth. Okay, so whatever information I've shared with you, I hope that it helps you. Take care.
Hi guys, in this video I want to differentiate between a canker sore and a cold sore. Okay, they're not the same thing. A canker sore is a little white or yellow ulcer on the inside of the lip or on the inside of the mouth. A cold sore is an actual little ulcer or bump or pustule sac on the lip or around the mouth. Okay, the cold sore is viral, it's a virus. A canker sore is a nutritional deficiency of B12 and folate. These are B vitamins. This is a virus, herpes simplex. You cannot kill a virus because it's not alive in the first place. So all you can do is keep it in remission. And it just hangs out in the same location all the time, like right at a certain part of your lip, and it just kicks out under stress. Stress will activate the virus. Okay, also nutritional deficiencies. So when you go through some type of stressful event, boom, it comes out and you get a cold sore, okay? A cold sore is contagious, all right, for about 10 days. A canker sore is not because it's a vitamin deficiency. You get a canker sore by consuming refined grains and refined foods like breads and pastas and cereals and crackers and biscuits and waffles, pancakes, right? Also, it could come from a digestion problem. Let's say you had an antibiotic or you have, I don't know, irritable bowel syndrome or chronic inflammation in your gut, leaky gut, all that. And then that could be why you're not absorbing B12 or folate or other B vitamins. Okay, that's another cause. But it's non-contagious. I'm going to recommend for a canker sore just to clean up your diet and don't consume any more refined grains. Also, take nutritional yeast. That would help this greatly, okay? In a cold sore, what you have to do is you could speed up the cycle of the virus by taking lysine, which is an amino acid, and vitamin C. Make sure the vitamin C is a food-based complex, not a synthetic, all right? Thanks for watching.
Now, a person with bad breath is usually the last person to know they have bad breath. How do we know that? Because they're usually talking very close to your face without too much awareness on their bad breath. I have some very interesting information that you probably haven't heard before that is very, very important, especially related to breath. You see, just like in my other videos, if you want to know the truth about health, just find out what everyone's recommending and do the opposite, or finding out what they're telling you not to do and do it. And this definitely applies to bad breath. So before I get into that point, I want to first talk about certain foods that can cause bad breath. So you have garlic, onions. Both of those foods are loaded with sulfur compounds. So eating anything with sulfur can definitely give you a certain odor. So if your spouse or partner eats anything with garlic or onions, unless you're eating things with garlic and onions, it's going to be pretty unpleasant. And then you have cheese. There's all sorts of stinky cheese. Limburger cheese, for example, or blue cheese, which has mold in it, will all contribute to some pretty nasty breath. But when you ask someone, like when I asked my father, why do you eat Limburger cheese? It smells so bad. Apparently, it doesn't taste bad. It just smells bad. So I first want to talk about some real simple things you can do to counter your bad breath if you've eaten foods with garlic, onion, cheese, etc. One thing that works really good to counter the bad breath is green tea. You can use it as a mouthwash. You can drink it. It seems to counter the sulfur compounds in certain foods. Now, the other thing that's really good, organic parsley and mint or peppermint. And then when you have garlic or onions, just take a little bit out of your refrigerator and chew on it. It completely neutralizes the bad taste and the smell that you would get from eating those foods. Now, another type of toothpaste that I like to recommend, especially if someone has bad breath, is toothpaste with clove. And there's all different combinations with clove, with cardamom. They're really, really good to even act as a natural antibiotic without killing the good bacteria. Now, this leads me right into a very important topic that so many people have no idea that's creating a big problem with their breath. And that is using toothpaste with fluoride and using a mouthwash with alcohol. You see, there's something that is either not understood, that's missing in the area of oral health, which is this. In your mouth, you have hundreds of different, that is either breath. And that is me right into a very important topic that so many people have no idea that's creating a big problem with their breath. And that is using toothpaste with fluoride and using a mouthwash with alcohol. You see, there's something that is either not understood, that's missing in the area of oral health, which is this. In your mouth, you have hundreds of different species of microbes growing, okay, in your mouth. And as far as the quantity, we're talking about hundreds of billions of microbes. Now, we want them mostly friendly, but you have two different groups. You have the unfriendly ones and you have the friendly ones. So when you talk about fluoride in your toothpaste, right, that kills the germs that might cause plaque, that can then cause bad breath. Or when you're talking about mouthwash, that kills the germs that cause bad breath. What about the good germs that prevent bad breath? It's not that you just have these bad germs in your mouth that are causing bad breath, and then you can sterilize your mouth and everything's better. That's the same logic as taking an antibiotic, thinking that you're killing off the infection when you're in fact killing off all of the microbes that are supposed to protect you against infections. And this reasoning has led to antibiotic resistance, a massive amount of overgrowth of unfriendly bacteria and yeast, and an overgrowth of candida, oral thrush, or white tongue, where you have too much unfriendly yeast that is giving you some pretty bad breath. So fluoride and chloride in your water combined, as you're brushing your teeth and getting this water in your mouth, is basically killing both the good and bad bacteria. So it might give you a nice breath initially, but then it ends up being bad breath. So I would recommend getting toothpaste without the fluoride. I would recommend also getting a water filter. And I would definitely avoid the mouthwashes with alcohol, because alcohol kills microbes. I mean, think about a sanitizer with rubbing alcohol. That's supposed to kill viruses and bacteria. What do you think it's doing to your friendly bacteria? Now, there's some other things you can do as well. You can actually get some gum with xylitol. Xylitol is a sugar alcohol that is very selective in what it kills off. It won't kill off the good bacteria. It only apparently kills off certain bad bacteria that cause plaque. The bad bacteria that causes plaque apparently gives off a certain gas that is kind of stinky. So that would be one thing you can do. Another thing to do as a natural deodorizer is to consume things with chlorophyll. Now, what would that be? That would be all the green stuff in plants, as in vegetables, okay? I think one of the best sources of chlorophyll would be the wheatgrass juice powder. That stuff has some serious chlorophyll, and it's a great deodorizer, not just for your mouth, but internally, okay? All the organs, including the intestine. All right, the next point I want to bring up is coffee and coffee breath. That can be quite nasty. Now, that's because the sulfur compounds in coffee beans, as well as certain acids that occur in the coffee bean, including tannins, which can really dry out your mouth and affect the microbiome in your mouth. So, of course, with coffee breath, you want to brush your teeth with some really good toothpaste that has clove and it doesn't have fluoride. But chewing parsley and mint is also a really good thing. All right, I already mentioned a little bit about alcohol, but it's not just the alcohol in mouthwash, it's also the alcohol in alcohol beverages. So if you drink alcohol every so often, just make sure that you don't consume more than a 6-pack a night, and you want to take a natural probiotic. And I'm mainly talking about like fermented vegetables and sauerkraut, kimchi, things like that to reestablish these microbes. All right, the next point I want to bring up, and this is probably the number one source of bad breath, that would be sugar. Sugar feeds unfriendly microbes. It feeds yeast, which is a type of candida. And so that's its primary fuel. If you want to starve off these unfriendly microbes, very simple, just avoid sugar. That's called the ketogenic diet. So again, these microbes give off a smelly gas and they produce bad breath. They also make acids that can put holes in your bones. And I'm talking about your teeth, as in cavities. And the average teenager is consuming at least 18 teaspoons of sugar, and that's just added. That's not part of the normal carbohydrates that they're consuming. So you can imagine how much bad bacteria that's being generated. Now, the next point I want to bring up is the fact that your mouth is part of an entire system called the digestive system. So when you focus on one little part of this whole system and neglect the other parts, you're not going to ever fix bad breath. So many people have bad breath because of a lower digestive system problem, either in the stomach, the small intestine, or the large intestine. So this is why if you have weak stomach acid or you don't have enough acidity in your stomach, you're not going to get the proper digestion. And that alone can create gas that can come up through your breath. And that occurs from just having incomplete digestion. So this is why apple cider vinegar on a regular basis. This is why taking betaine hydrochloride after a meal, which is a natural acidifier, is really good for bad breath. And also it prevents something called SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. Normally, the bacteria should be in the large intestine, not so much in the small intestine. I mean, there's a little bit in there, but there shouldn't be a lot. When you get too much bacteria, and I'm even talking about the good bacteria, in the wrong place, you're going to have SIBO. And what happens is these microbes compete for your nutrients. And they also create a lot of gas, and they create a lot of bad breath and overgrowth of unfriendly microbes. And this can definitely create not just bloating, but it also can create some bad breath. Now, the thing you need to know about this is that if you consume probiotics and fiber, okay, and salads, and you feel worse, you have a lot of distension, that can mean that you have SIBO, in which case you should stop eating those things and go carnivore for a little while, because to kill these microbes, you have to not feed them anymore. And you'd want to take things like betaine hydrochloride, and you'd want to do fasting to allow the digestive system to reset. And you might want to take a natural antibiotic like oregano, for example. So the reason I want to bring this up is because the recommendation of taking probiotics and fiber might be conflicting if you have SIBO. So one of the key ways that you know is with bloating and distension if you have too much fiber or probiotics. But most of the population is going to benefit from probiotics and more vegetables and things like that. But if you don't, then suspect SIBO. I have a very important and interesting video on how to get rid of this dental plaque tartar situation that you might have. I did a video on this before, but it wasn't fully complete. So this would be like a part 2, because there's something very, very important to add to this formula to get rid of plaque, okay? And this involves vitamin C. Now, we have the vitamin C complex that in nature comes with a lot of different things. One being a part of the vitamin C complex called ascorbic acid. And many times you'll see vitamin C is ascorbic acid, but it's really not. It's just a part of the vitamin C complex. However, you can use ascorbic acid in helping get rid of plaque. But I want to first give you some background on vitamin C in relationship to oral health. Now, you've probably heard of scurvy, which is a severe vitamin C deficiency and all the different effects that can be created. Sailors at one time developed scurvy, and they had a lot of problems because they basically were lacking any food with vitamin C. And then over time, they found that you can give a sailor limes, lemons, onions, even potatoes to supply the vitamin C, and that seemed to cure scurvy. So what is it about this vitamin that is so important? Well, if you don't have enough vitamin C, you cannot make collagen, okay? Vitamin C is essential to make collagen. And I'm talking about collagen in your skin, in your bone tissue, including your teeth, in your ligaments, in your tendons, in your muscles, in your joints, in all of your arteries, including the capillaries. So when you don't have enough vitamin C, for example, in your capillaries, you get blood going through the capillary wall, creating bleeding. And so one of the big indicators to know that you're vitamin C deficient is when you get bleeding gums. Anything like gingivitis or a periodontal disease is usually related in some way to a vitamin C deficiency. Now, you probably already know that sugar is bad for your teeth and gums. And so the sugar then feeds the bacteria that develop acids that cause cavities, inflamed gum tissue, and plaquing and tartar. So what actually is tartar? Tartar is biofilms. Okay, what's a biofilm? Biofilms are colonies of microbes that have band together and they develop these calcium igloos or shelters to hide from your immune system. So in nature, like 90 to 95% of all these bacteria start to form biofilms. In fact, if you were to walk through a little stream, for example, you notice if you step on a rock, it's very slippery. There's slime. That's the formation of biofilms. So in nature, one of the defense mechanisms that these microbes use is these kind of a protective shell. And so biofilms form tartar in your teeth. They form the plaquing in your arteries. Also, they form these calcium deposits in your joints. So biofilms are around us everywhere. And I do want to touch on the relationship between vitamin C and biofilms in just a second. But first, let me just complete my thought on vitamin C and its function in your body. Without vitamin C, you actually get really bad breath, okay? Because you have this overgrowth of bacteria. Vitamin C suppresses pathogens, including viruses, bacteria, yeast, fungus, mold, and of course, biofilms. Vitamin C also helps to act as an antihistamine. So in the body, when you have histamine, it's related to allergies. And this is why vitamin C is good to take, is to reduce the sneezing, the runny nose, the mucus production. So vitamin C, as I already mentioned, is involved and essential in generating and making connective tissue and collagen. Vitamin C also tends to make active folate. So in the pre-inactive form of folic acid that converts into folate, vitamin C is necessary. Vitamin C is also necessary in converting cholesterol into bile salts, in converting tryptophan into serotonin, in converting dopamine into epinephrine. So there's a lot of neurotransmitter type functions that vitamin C is involved with. Also making adrenal hormone steroids like cortisol, you need vitamin C. And as you already know, vitamin C is very important in fighting off infection and decreasing the duration of how long you get an infection, and also increasing your resistance to infection. When you're low in vitamin C, you're susceptible to getting biofilms, okay? So another interesting point about this is that we know vitamin C saved the sailors, but also there was another problem related to sailors that I want to cover, which is actually interesting. The ships developing these things called barnacles. And these barnacles underneath the ship would add tremendous amounts of weight and resistance when traveling through the sea. And these barnacles are basically collections of organisms, like clams and lobster and even smaller organisms with this calcium shell. So if you have a ship with all these barnacles, you're going to basically add like a third more fuel because of the weight. And so there's a lot of problems. And the name that they assigned to barnacles would be called marine fouling. And so they've tried a lot of things to get rid of these growth of these biofilms. They tried different paints with chemicals. And of course, all this is very toxic. But in 1990, this guy who was a sailor had this brilliant idea while I was eating a sandwich he had these red hot chili peppers in it. And he had this idea that he says, wonder if these chili peppers would kill off these barnacles, right? Well, he found out that they did effectively kill off these microorganisms. So he developed a type of paint using chili peppers, right? And it worked great. And there's one thing about chili peppers. Chili peppers not only have certain active compounds that are going to kill biofilms, but chili peppers are very, very high in vitamin C. And even one of the byproducts that vitamin C turns into is hydrogen peroxide, which is another anti-biofilm chemical. In fact, your body even makes hydrogen peroxide to protect against too many biofilms, which is another interesting point. In my first video, I gave you a formula that you can use when you're brushing your teeth to help reduce plaquing, tartar, but I did not include vitamin C in this formula. Okay, so I'm going to kind of just explain what I'm going to recommend. The first ingredient to this new formula addition, which is only 4 ingredients, would be to take 1/4 of a teaspoon of baking soda and dissolve it in a half a cup of water. Okay, warm water. Dissolve it completely, and then add 1/4 of a teaspoon of hydrogen peroxide, 3%. Okay, because hydrogen peroxide is a great mouthwash and a very powerful anti-biofilm compound. But then I'm going to recommend something else, 1/4 of a teaspoon of non-GMO ascorbic acid. Now, all you're going to be doing is you're going to be brushing your teeth with this once a day, and you're going to spit out this material, and you're probably going to have one of the most powerful anti-biofilm compounds around. But I recommend brushing your teeth all around, inside and outside, and then spitting it out and rinsing out your mouth. Now, you can also add mint, peppermint, clove as a great essential oil to help as well. And so it doesn't taste so bad, and it can leave your breath smelling a little bit better. But on top of that, just to understand what vitamin C does and the effects of vitamin C deficiency for oral health is huge. You should be consuming things that are high in vitamin C on a regular basis. And that would include several foods, peppers, both red peppers, hot peppers, mild peppers, green vegetables. Okay, pretty much all the green vegetables are loaded with vitamin C. Okay, the next thing would be limes and lemons in your diet. Realize that if you're getting lemon juice or a lime juice in a glass or some container, it's been pasteurized, and vitamin C is very sensitive to oxygen and heat. So there's really little vitamin C unless you're using an actual lemon or lime. And of course, fermented cabbage as sauerkraut has a ton of vitamin C. All right, so now that you're more educated in vitamin C, I really want you to understand the difference between natural vitamin C complex versus just the synthetic version of ascorbic acid. This would be very, very important for you to have the full picture. So I created this video and put it up right here for you. Check it out.
Grüns loads a complete serving of fruits, veggies, adaptogens, vitamins, minerals, super mushroom.
There are roughly about 7 ways to know if you are low in vitamin C, okay? But I first want to cover some confusions about vitamin C. The first one is between synthetic vitamin C and natural vitamin C. If you look this up, you'll be told that they're the same. There's no difference between synthetic vitamin C and natural vitamin C. Chemically, they're the exact identical molecules. Well, these studies, if you actually read them, mainly talk about absorption rate, okay? It's absorbed the same. Well, they might be the same, but in nature, they're very, very different. In fact, ascorbic acid, which is now called vitamin C, really is just one little piece of the vitamin C complex. In nature, you never see just plain ascorbic acid. But when you see the studies that show there's no difference between synthetic versus natural, they're really only talking about absorption rate, okay? They're not talking about if vitamin C created an effect in the body. They're mainly talking about, well, it absorbs at the same rate in the same amount. But I want to know, will it actually fix my problem, right? Well, even the gentleman who discovered vitamin C, okay, back, I think it was 1939, said that you can't cure scurvy, okay, with isolated ascorbic acid, okay? You can't cure scurvy. Scurvy is a severe vitamin C deficiency. And I'm not saying that there's no benefits from synthetic vitamin C. I just want to let you know there's a huge difference between synthetic versus what you see in nature that is part of the vitamin C complex. And most of the synthetic vitamin C that is sold out there is made by China, and they make it from sulfuric acid and corn starch, okay? And you're going to tell me that's the same thing as what they have in nature. Well, I don't think so. In nature, vitamin C comes as a complex. You have ascorbic acid as one part. You also have vitamin P, which is the bioflavonoids part. And P stands for permeability because it's related to vascular permeability. And this is why if you're deficient, you tend to have more bleeding because there's more leaking through your capillaries, okay? And then you also have vitamin K as part of the vitamin C complex too. So that's included in a lot of functions. And the J factor has to do with increasing oxygen in the lung. And you also have copper as a trace mineral within the vitamin C complex in an enzyme form called tyrosinase, which is involved in rebuilding collagen, okay, and connective tissue. So this is why vitamin C is very, very important in collagen formation, connective tissue, joint health. And a lot of the vitamin C is stored in the adrenal glands, okay? And your white blood cells also need vitamin C as part of the immune system. When you take vitamin C, the duration of your cold can be a little bit less. But your immune system needs vitamin C. Vitamin C is good for connective tissue and also supporting the walls of the capillaries to make sure they don't leak. Vitamin C is a very powerful antioxidant. In one study, which I'm going to put down below, they tested in a lab, okay? So they took vitamin C and they wanted to see if it was a really good antioxidant. And they found it actually was a pro-oxidant, okay, in this study. Well, what does that mean? Well, very simply, if you envision a free radical, okay, which is it's kind of an unpaired electron. Let's say you took this little plate that's spinning on my finger and you had two different weights on either side to balance it out as it spins, right? And then you took one of these weights off. You can compare that to a free radical because it's an unpaired electron. So we have something that's not going to balance. And since this thing is spinning, you can have a lot of damage with this unstable radical molecules. An antioxidant comes in and donates that missing electron. So now it can be balanced and spin and be more stable. But if you're going to take ascorbic acid, okay, or any synthetic antioxidant, and what's going to happen is going to donate its electron, and then it itself is going to be unpaired. It becomes a free radical. In nature and in your body, you always have networks of antioxidants. So then one donates an electron, it can then receive another electron from another antioxidant, and they can share their electrons. In fact, vitamin C helps to regenerate vitamin E with this very same mechanism. Because let's say, for example, you have a lot of problems in your arteries, and vitamin E is donating the electrons, and you also took vitamin C. Vitamin C can help recharge the vitamin E so it can then start donating more of these electrons to help with this antioxidant effect. All right, what are the ways that you can determine if you're low in vitamin C? Well, number one, the big one is bleeding gums, right? If you brush your teeth and you have these red little streaks in your toothbrush and you're bleeding in your gums, chances are you're low in vitamin C. Number two, you might have these small little red and purple dots on your skin. Sometimes you see them in the lower leg. Sometimes they can be anywhere in the body, okay? But this is an indication of low vitamin C. Another one, number three, is bruising. Now, remember I talked about this K1 right here in the vitamin C complex? Well, vitamin K helps to prevent bleeding, okay? So it's kind of a coagulation. So it's going to help you prevent this excessive bleeding when you injure yourself. But if you have a vitamin C deficiency without any injury, no reason for bruising, and you get a bruise, you might want to look at a vitamin C deficiency. Next one is dry, rough, scaly skin. Okay, that can be a vitamin C deficiency. And as a side note, the chemical structure of vitamin C is very similar to glucose, okay? And so if you're consuming sugar, at the same time you're consuming vitamin C, guess what's going to take priority? The glucose. This is why kids, adults who consume a lot of sugar are usually always low in vitamin C. Also, if you're a smoker, you're going to be deficient in vitamin C because the need for vitamin C goes way up. Okay, chicken skin, like maybe in the back of the arms, you see these little bumps that you have, okay? And they're slightly red, or it could be on the legs or your thighs. That could be a vitamin C deficiency. It could also be an omega-3 fatty acid deficiency as well. Nosebleeds are a symptom of low vitamin C, okay? And then we have dry, splitting hair, which is another indication that you are low in vitamin C. Now, the best way to get vitamin C is from food or food concentrates from lemon or lemon juice. The problem with lemon juice is that it's heated, and heat destroys vitamin C. So if you're going to use lemon juice to get your vitamin C, make sure you get it from actual lemons that you juice, or blend the whole lemon like I do in the morning with a glass of water and a teaspoon of my electrolyte powder. It tastes great. But you can get vitamin C from peppers, any type of peppers, green peppers, red peppers. Vitamin C is in cabbage. Vitamin C is in the berries. But the highest vitamin C is in sauerkraut, okay? Sauerkraut. 1 cup of sauerkraut could give you up to like 10 times the vitamin C that your body requires each day.